Oh my God.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Give it a couple minutes. Get some people to hop on here. I'm going to go and refill my coffee. I'll be right back.
Tomorrow I'm going to come in and the ALC wall's going to be updated. The only reason it's taking so long is because last time at Branch,
We're going on like 3 years.
whoa, whole new office, whole new start.
Hey. Ready to get this stuff signed off?
Woo, woo, woo. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Craig. How's it going, man?
Doing good. I just got my exam date, so May 5th.
Excellent. Congratulations. Is it local?
Yeah, it's in Sacramento, so it's on the West Coast.
Yeah, I think they just started opening up more testing facilities starting this month. So, but quite a few people have been flying to Sacramento for a quick turnaround, taking the test and flying back.
Yeah, it's not that expensive if you do it up and back.
Gotcha. Awesome. How do you feel about it?
I'm ready, so let's go,
There you go. And then once you get back, you'll forget everything you learned on that test and actually start learning how to run a real estate business.
Yes, sir.
Jennifer, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's Friday. So I really appreciate you guys being on a Friday. I know realtors, we work literally every single day. We don't have weekends anymore. But we kind of feel like we do. So usually we take Friday off and we're super busy. So spending your time here with me shows your dedication to you building your business. And today's an important one. We're going to be talking about financing. So a lot of us want to make a lot of money. We want to make sure that money aligns with actually being net money in your pocket compared to making $100 but spending $200. Not a good idea. Bianca, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Fantastic.
Good.
It's a busy day. Fridays are usually really busy for me. So Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays are jam-packed. Got that calendar full every minute.
Yes. So thank you. Thank you for having us on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Joe, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So what's new and great? What happened this week? Something that maybe you learned, something happened in your life, something that's pretty positive. All right, somebody had something positive. Come on. What you got?
I took the exam on Tuesday and I passed, and it was a miracle.
It was a miracle.
Congratulations. Haley, did you take the crash course by chance?
I did take a crash course, and I'm part of First Tuesday, and I just took a bunch of their study exam tests on their website. It was really helpful.
Wonderful. Yeah, a lot of people have recommended that.
Do they give you a score now, or they just tell you you passed?
Only passed. I would love to know my score. Kind of a perfectionist, so I want to know if I barely skated by or if I crushed it. I don't know. It's a little frustrating, but it's just pass.
Just tell everyone you got 100%.
Yes, I will. No.
Well, when you go to the doctors, you don't ask the doctor, what he scored on his test. You just know that he's a doctor.
True.
So as a real estate professional, I mean, you're licensed in California to, assist customers with buying and selling and leasing, real property. And nobody really asks after that. What'd you get on your test? I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah.
You're lucky. You're lucky they tell you right away. I had to wait like 3 or 4 weeks
Wow.
to get the results back. So you're just waiting and waiting.
Yeah, they folded the paper up and stapled it and said, "Don't open until you get outside the building." That was all the waiting I had to do.
That was nice. It's awesome. Ryan, thanks for joining us on your iPhone there. How you doing?
Hey, doing good. Thank you.
Gotcha. Well, we're Elizabeth. She's just hopping on here. Thank you for joining us, Elizabeth. So was there a lot of math on that state exam?
Not a lot. I would say out of the 150 questions, maybe 10 or 15 max.
That's awesome. Did you actually answer those, or did you just mark C?
I did my best to answer them.
Awesome. I think the questions are still the same. I mean, whenever we're dealing with the government, it takes them a while to change stuff. So that test is probably from, 1960, and they add maybe a question every year. It's it's pretty generic, I think. But anyhow, let's get rolling here. So if you guys don't know who I am, I'm actually the CEO and team leader here at Keller Williams Pacific Estates La Mirada. And my job is helping agents grow their businesses. Just like your productivity coaches, we are looking to help real estate agents build and grow successful businesses, not just help them sell real estate. So a lot of companies out there will help you through a transaction, how to buy and sell some real estate. You were learning some of that in your real estate school. Keller Williams, we really specialize in actually building businesses. So real estate is just the byproduct of what we do, and we do that very well. But prior to selling real estate, we are, you probably already know this, we're, the top tech company when it comes to real estate in the United States. And then we're also the #1 coaching and consulting company across all business platforms in the United States as well. And number 3, we just happen to sell some real estate and do that really well as well. Did about 1.5 million transactions last year. So, you're in the right place with the right people, the right training. You have everything at your fingertips, but you got to do the push-ups. So, and that's what we're doing in Ignite, teaching you what you need to know. And then it's up to you to do some push-ups. And if you'd like, we could, help hold you accountable and guide you through that as well. So let me pop up my PowerPoint here and we can start rolling. Share and PowerPoint. And where's the play button? Look at my screen here. If you guys been with me before, I work off 2 computers. So if you see me looking away, it's I have 2 computer screens up at the same time, 2 different computers. and working them simultaneously. So slideshow, play from current slide, boom. There we go. So, successful agents, we go through this every time. They do two things in their business. They grow their business and they run their business. Today, we're going to focus on running your business and money management. Whoops, lost my page, sorry. And we want to teach you how to build habits to build a financially sound business, not just being in business. So we'll be employing some techniques and some models used by most successful real estate agents on how they manage their commission checks and handling the use of their money to build a bright future for themselves in the real estate business. Oh man, I'm really killing myself here. Sorry. I lost my screen. There we go. I'm back. Gotta stop playing with stuff here. So let's get into this right here. So, Keller Williams is known for model systems and tech. So naturally, KW offers powerful tools driven by technology to help you pursue your personal business goals. And then when using these proven models and tools, they're actually in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Has everyone read the MREA book?
I'm in the middle of that.
Okay, awesome. So I have a whole stack of them behind me here. So if you can see the MREA book, if you don't know much about it, Gary Keller interviewed the top agents in the United States before Keller Williams became Keller Williams. And he wanted to know, why are they so successful and what do they have in common? And after interviewing them and shadowing them, he was able to take a lot of notes, come back. And in the book, he broke down 4 models. One of them is the economic model, which we went over at the beginning of Ignite, how to break down how much money you want to make compared to how many transactions you need to sell. And we're gonna go over a little bit of that today. Second was a lead generation model, and I'm sure you guys already went through that, where your leads are coming from. The third is the budget model, which we're touching on today, the budget and what that looks like. And then fourth is the organizational model. As you continue to grow, you need to hire or incorporate some systems, models, tools, tech, and then at the very end, people to be able to help grow your organization. So really great 4 models that you're going to follow through the MREA book. I would suggest reading it a few times and reading it every year. And the reason why we read it multiple times, and I read it multiple times as well, because where you are in your business is a different place than you were 6 months ago or a year ago. And things will pop out to you that didn't make sense now, but they will make sense in the future. So I would just take it in stride and continue to read it multiple times. So if you don't have a copy, let us know. We'll send you a digital copy. And then we also have books in the office as well. You can pop up in and grab a book, or they're, a couple bucks on Amazon there. So I buy mine from Amazon, about 20 at a time. So we want to talk a little bit about your goals, and then, obviously saving for taxes and making sure that's a real important part of your finances. And then, create important habits around these. And the reason why we want important habits, because many agents confuse income with profit, right? And then they don't save to pay their taxes on time, and they don't make use of the powerful tools available to them to calculate that or to keep track of it. And they don't understand the financial part. They just kind of wing it, right? And they're not preparing for financial security. They're just kind of haphazardly going through their business. So while we don't have enough time probably today to go through every single habit, we're going to make sure we cover the fundamentals so you get off on the right foot with your business. And then if needed, we could dig deep back into a few of them. So you can see habit number 1 is set a profit goal that funds your big life and to pursue the activities to achieve it. Has everyone already set their goals in business? I know you just got your license, but a lot of us have specific goals or how much money we want to make to be able to fund the life we want to live.
No.
No, not yet?
No.
Okay. And then what about estimate and save to pay your taxes on time? Is that something everyone's got on their mind all the time? Taxes?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Because
Yes.
I've had it in the past where it snuck up on me, where it's like, oh, I'm making tons of money, and then finally it's like, oh wow, I owe the IRS what? $30,000. Oh wow. Okay, well, that'll be interesting. So,
Rob, are taxes not taken off the top?
when you get paid commissions,
Yes, that's what I meant.
it is not. No, you're an independent contractor. You're getting gross. There's no deductions taken out. So what
Okay,
you
well,
would do
that's
is,
so important then. Yeah, you don't want to get burned,
yeah. So you would estimate how much money you're actually going to make, and then with your CPA, and then you would make quarterly payments.
Thank
And
you.
we're going to go over a little bit of that. Yeah, sometimes when you're not running a successful business, and I could definitely tell you a little bit about this because I've done it myself in the past, where you didn't have a business plan, you just helped a couple people sell some real estate, you're making some pretty good money, and you spend the money, right? It's like, I just made $15,000. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to pay my mortgage. I'm going to pay my car payment. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on vacation. And then you spent all your money and you didn't actually save for lead generation. You didn't save for taxes. And then it kind of sneaks up on you as an independent contractor where you owe a lot of money for taxes when your CPA does your taxes at the end of the year. And then you got to find a way to pay that. So setting it aside and spending your money wisely and understanding what your actual net is. And we're going to go through some of that math here today. So be prepared for some math. If you don't like math, then I don't know what to tell you, but we're going to have to do some of it today. So number 4 is number 3 is use the proven models and systems based on the MREA chart of accounts. And we'll have some specific page numbers for you as well to track that in your MREA book. And then number 4, be financially savvy with reviewing your financials monthly and going over those. Here in the office, we have ALC meetings, which is our Agent Leadership Council. We go over their finances every single month, which is actually today at 2:00 in my office. And they'll review my P&L, which is for the entire office, and I'll be reviewing theirs. So we want to create a culture of understanding your profit and loss statement and understanding the finances to make sure that you're on track for running a successful business. And that comes from the top down, comes from KWRI, comes directly from your office, and then comes from you. So we definitely look at that. So number 5 is pay yourself a salary. As soon as you start, getting up and running, making some money, you're probably going to end up, opening up an entity, an LLC or an S Corp, and then you're paying yourself a salary. So you'll be able to save on some taxes that way. I'm not a tax accountant, so I'm not going to sit here and give you tax advice, but I would definitely suggest as you're opening up your own business here that you get a CPA, one that understands businesses, and go through what your goals are so that they could properly prepare you for any tax benefits or burdens that you might have and ways to work with them. We never really work around them. We could just work with it. So if you don't have somebody, I could maybe steer you in the right direction. And then you want to prepare now for your financial security for your future. And that's building an organization, obviously off of lead generation to do that. So the next step is, what is the purpose of business? And the purpose of business is obviously profit. And we're in the business of profit. So money is only good for the good it can do. This is something Gary Keller, talks about all the time. And we don't want to shy away from understanding the money part. We got into real estate. I think most of us got into real estate to make a lot of money or to be in control of the money that we make. So I 100% agree with that. So we want to take that into account. That money's not a bad thing. It's actually a really great thing. So imagine being the number 1 donor for a charity or the number 1 donor at your church. You want to make sure that money's a positive thing in your life, not a negative thing. So when you set your goals, you become keenly aware of how many transactions you need to close to hit your financial goals. And this is the money that you'll use to fund your big life and to do good things as well. So today we're going to talk about being financially sound in your business, and how you can incorporate that into a business directly from the start with every transaction you close. And this begins with understanding the money that you make off of each transactions, and then how to contribute to a financially sound business plan with that money. So we want to look at a couple examples here. So number one on the left, is it financially sound or unsound? You sold a house, made $9 grand. You netted about, say $5,700 of that. You threw it in your bank, and then, you spent $5,600 out of that. What do you guys think of that first example?
Not good.
Rob, it's a little hard to read. Can you expand your screen or go to the full screen mode or something?
Okay, God, that's interesting, because I thought I was on full screen mode. Let me look over on my other screen here.
Maybe it's just me, but I really can't read it.
It's not the whole, you're not seeing the whole page?
No,
Also
we're
on
seeing
We
that
don't
pretty
see the whole
Or-
slide. We see your presentation, the facilitator's notes and everything too.
Oh, gotcha. That's interesting. How do I go to full slide? Use slideshow. How about that?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Boom, there you go. Awesome. So that's why I have two screens. I'm working off one, you're working off another. Okay, awesome. So we see two scenarios here. We see, somebody selling a house, and obviously they're getting paid, net from the office after some expenses. They put it in their business account, and then all of a sudden, they throw it in their wallet and spend a bunch of money. They obviously didn't look at business savings, and they obviously didn't look at tax savings as well. So although they're receiving some revenue, their income is gone. So the profit that's left over to fund your business, your taxes, and your personal lifestyle, has now just went out the window. So the example on the right, you're going to see another scenario where you make that same amount of money, but now in your personal bank account, you have two different bank accounts. You have a business bank account and a personal bank account. And this is something I do as well. So I have so much money that is my net proceeds. So out of every check, I take a certain percentage, and it'll be split up. Certain percentage will go to my personal bank account, which I spend my money out of, and the other one goes back into my business account, which I spend on business expenses. And we'll go ahead a little bit further from here and kind of break down what some of those expenses are. So right now, Jessica's saving, in this example here, about 40% of her income for taxes, which may be a really high number. So I would definitely check with your CPA on seeing what percentage is your tax bracket, so that you save accordingly, and you don't want to oversave and you don't want to undersave, right? So because you could put that money into something else. Now, a little off topic, do you know what there's 4 things you could do with money? Does everyone know what 4 things those are?
Invest it, save it, spend it.
That's right. You could,
I'm just
Yeah, you
guessing
could-
here, but that's what I would do. I don't know what the fourth one would be.
gotcha. Well, you could save money, you could invest money, you could spend money, and then you can give money away. So the only one that gives you a return on investment is investing the money, right? Everything else is a spend. So, and based on the MRI book, we're gonna show you a little bit of what percentage should actually go back into your business to reinvest in your business. Like, for example, lead generation. So typically we spend about 10% on our income back on lead generation to drive in more leads. So in the MRI book, we'll go through that page and kind of check that out. So most agents receive like little or no guidance on how to handle their first couple transactions or how to handle their commission checks at all. So they usually go with scenario number 1, especially when you're brand new. I just closed a transaction. Wow, I just made a bunch of money, and now I put it in my account and I blow it all, or I spend it because I'm making a bunch of money now. So we want to make sure that when we are looking at the money that we make, we're not looking at that big number, that $9,000 or $10,000 or $50,000 commission check. We're actually looking at what the breakdown would be for me in my pocket. For myself, it's about 40%. So for every $10,000 I make, $4,000 goes into my checking account, right? The rest is getting spent or saved in other accounts for different reasons. And we'll kind of go over some of that in a sec. So again, we talked about the financially sound business, one transaction, $9,000 commission check, $5,700 net payment to you, and then $4,900 in your pocket, or $2,400 in your pocket. Those are the expenses, and the taxes are already accounted for. So out of $9 grand, I'm actually able to spend $2,400. So all my expenses are paid and my taxes are taken care of in a tax savings account. So this is what we're aiming for in this class, for you to understand and embrace a smart model that grows your business, pays your taxes, and still could fund your life. And we're going to break some of that math down based on what your needs are here in a few minutes. Does all of that make sense so far? Would you like me to, break that down a little bit more?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the MRA models. So in the MRA book here. So here's the economic model in the MRA book, right? It's showing income, expenses, and then profit. So there's two different models to this. One of them is the solo agent model, where it's typically about a 70-30. You're going to have 30% expenses and 70% is going to be your net. When you're building an organization, you're going to have what they call cost of sales. Cost of sales is what you pay to get that sale done. That's other agents' commissions. So like for myself, I have a team. So I have a lot of cost of sales. Portion of that is going to my agents to close transactions. And then what's left for me is obviously profit. So the percentages for best practices are a bottom line of about 40%. So if you made 10 grand, your cost of sales is going to be about 3 grand. Your operating expense is about 3, and then your profit is 4. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So if you go to page 157 of your MREA book here, it'll actually break down based on the volume that you're selling. It'll break down an average expense, profit, income, and expense detail when it comes to your business. So I would definitely take a look at that and use that as a guide. I have some simple P&Ls that I use from a lot of the newer agents to be able to keep track of some of these things. What I'd like to do is I'd like to share that with you. Let me find out how to do that real quick.
Do the expenses in this economic model account for the taxes you're supposed to set aside as well? Or is that a part of the 40% that you get in your net profit that you just account on yourself?
Really great question. So usually it's not in there. So what happens is we're gonna break down an economic model here in a few minutes, where we're gonna look at how much money you actually want to net in your pocket, and then from there we're gonna break down what those expenses would be to get your net, and then from your net, that's what you pay taxes off. So for example, like I'm not gonna pay taxes on $10,000. I'm only paying taxes on the 4,000. Because everything else is a write-off. My operating expenses is a write-off. My cost of sales is also a write-off. So I'm not going to, say, for example, my tax base is 20%. I'm not going to save $2,000 out of 10 for taxes. It's 20% of the $4,000, which is only $800.
Okay, got it. So even though that we see the 4,000, we just need to make sure, take out taxes out of that.
The taxes will be out of that, exactly. So out of the $4,000, $800 will go into an account for my taxes if my tax rate is 20%, and then I have $3,200 left. So if I wanted, so if I wanted my net profit for the year to be that 4,000, I would go back and then just change my economic model to add the amount I would pay for taxes. And I think we have a math problem coming up here that we could that you guys will be able to play with. And I think in your worksheets, I tried to print one out right before this thing, and my printer didn't print it out. So I believe in your worksheet for this class, there's some examples for you to write in on how to calculate that model. And it's coming up in the next couple slides here. And so the key, obviously, to building a business plan is to lead with revenue, not expenses. So there's going to be a, let's just go to that, because I think people think of this a little bit differently. So let's look at the economic model real quick right here. So usually most people think of this. They think of, I have income, I have expenses, and then my profit is just what's left. So imagine how do you run your family or your lifestyle off of what's left?
I look at profit as just another expense.
Gotcha. Okay. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, it's not something that's arrived by default. You factor in something that's reasonable and work that in appropriately.
Gotcha. And I'm really glad you said that, because that is going to be the next model that we're looking at. So most people would run their businesses like this. Hey, I want to make a certain dollar amount, or they just have income that comes in, and whatever I pay in expenses, whatever's left is what I'm going to live off of. So they pretty much get whatever's left. So they're not factoring in what they're going to get. So most successful businesses will know exactly how much money they're going to make right up front. They know what their profit is. And that's this model here, where you understand how much profit I want to put in my pocket for the year. And then I'm going to look at what my income needs to be. And then I'm going to calculate my expenses and then make sure I can minimize my expenses to get the biggest net income. So the profit is the first thing you're thinking about. So for you guys, I want to think about the same thing. Like, what do I want my profit to be? That's what's going to fund my life, my big why. And then I'll break it down from there and see and understand what my expenses are, and then what my income needs to be able to get to that profit. So the income isn't something that's just made up. It's not something that just happens. I'll put a plan behind making that amount of income because I know what my profit goal is. Does that make sense, or did that get confusing?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, if at any point something is a little off or confusing, or you don't want to get it, I'll go over it again. So asking questions is actually a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weaknesses. Trust me, I'm a good example of that. I'm in these big regional calls with with a lot of top professionals, and I stop them all the time. I was like, hey, time out, guys. Like, I'm not at your level yet. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. Could you break that down for me one more time? And they'll stop, break it down so that I could understand it. And then from there, I could move forward. That way we're all kind of on the same page. So.
Can you give an example of the second model?
Awesome. Okay. Actually, I can. I think I have one coming up here. I'm looking a couple slides ahead. Okay, great. So an example of the second model is like, I want to net, say for example, I want to net in my pocket $50,000 for the year. Like, that's what I need to pay my bills, to live the life that I live now. $50,000. I'm going to work backwards. So if I know $50,000 is going to be my net, I'm going to start doing some math. I think we have some math worksheets coming up. Let me look real quick, because I think the worksheet looks pretty good. Gotcha. Yeah. So on slide 17, we're going to go through this worksheet. It'll actually, if you're visual like me, it'll actually break it down for you to make it a little easier to understand. That way I'm not just explaining it to you. We actually have something to read. So the questions, how much money do I want to have in my bank account at the end of the year? And then obviously how many homes I need to sell to achieve that particular profit goal. And then how do I maximize my expenses to minimize my net income? So these are the questions on that flow chart that we're going to go over so that you understand that. So first we got to think about income. Income comes from a couple of different places. It comes from listing income, sales income, referral income, leasing income. It can only come from a select number of sources, right? So this is what goes into your business. So we're going to focus on those types of income to be able to drive the money that you need So the cost of sales is all the expenses. So expenses related to actually closing a transaction, commissions paid to the office, royalties, fees paid to KW, commission splits with either other employees, independent contractor, paying out referral fees. That's also a cost of sale. So we have income and then we have our expenses. And then what's left is going to be your net. So let's go ahead and dig into some of the cost of sales real quick. And we'll be able to break some of that down. So this is what I wanted to get to. So if you haven't yet capped on company dollar, what your net income commission check to you receives after cost of sales. So the formula is GCI, which is your gross commissions earned minus the company dollar, right? And that's, and then you have your royalty, which is 6%, and then you have your net commission. So you have GCI minus company dollar, minus your royalty, and then you're going to get your net commission. So if you haven't capped on royalties yet, royalties is the 6% you pay to KW. It's going to be your GCI minus your royalties, which is 6%, and that's going to be your net commission. Does that all make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So if you capped on both, your net commission check you'll receive, after your cost of sales will be just one number. You don't have to break down your royalties there. So I believe, I was hoping they had some numbers in there for you. 2 more slides, we have some numbers. So I'd like to just get to the numbers instead of going through like 500 slides there. Okay, perfect. That's what I want to get to. Slide 17 here. So we want to plan for your future by looking at the profit first. So if our net goal is to put $100,000 in our pocket, right? We know that based on our other chart, we're only going to be netting 40% of our overall income. So 40% is in my pocket, right? 30% was cost of sales, 30% was expenses, 40% is what goes in my pocket. If I need to make $100,000 in my pocket, right? My net is going to be 100. My gross is actually going to be 60% of that. So I'll times that by 60%. And now I need to make 166,000 to be able to put the 40,000, or excuse me, the 40% in my pocket, which is 100 grand. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. So the gross commission earned, we need to divide the gross profit by 40%, and then we got 416,000. And then we'll divide that by how many houses we need to sell. So if the average commission, on a house sale, we need 56 of those. And then we look at our cap. This example is 23,000. Ours is actually a 25,000, right? It's 22 plus 3. And then our budget is 30% for operating expenses. So we're going to make $416,000. We're going to spend $124,000 in expenses. And then our gross profit goal is going to be 166, and then we're going to net 100. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'd like to see which, man, I wish I had one of you guys' worksheets because I'd like to break some of that down for you and do some examples for you specifically. Do we have some of those in here? No. All right. Hang on one sec, guys. Let me get my other computer up and running here. I want to pull some examples and work with you on some of these models. Come on. So while I'm messing with this, what questions do you guys have so far? You've all been through the economic model exercise?
No,
I have
not yet.
not.
Yes.
Okay, so some of us haven't gone through the economic model.
Correct.
Okay, let me look for one. We got some time. So let me pull one up on my computer real quick, and we'll go through it. I'd like to let's see. This bad boy up. Download. Come on, computer. Here we go. Okay, awesome. I found one. Let me go ahead and let me share a different screen and get you guys rolling on one of these. So open, share screen. Yes. I want to share this one. All right, sweet. So we all see this one here. Is everyone able to see that?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Is it too small or?
A little bit
A little
small.
small.
All right, let's how was that? There
It's
we
nice,
go.
thank you.
Okay, perfect. So this is an Excel spreadsheet for an economic model. We have a couple different spreadsheets we use. This one's out of the MRA book. It's pretty dated, but I've used it for a long time. So let's do an example. My desired income, before paying royalties is, say $100,000. That was $1 million. Let's get rid of one of those zeros. I just want to make $1 million. And your guys' company cap, I think all our caps are same in this area, is 22,000. And our royalty cap is 3,000. So this is an economic model. So we want to break down how many houses we need to sell to be able to make the money that we need to make for our desired income here. So typically we want to have a balanced listing to buyer ratio. So if you don't have a balanced one and you do more buyers than sellers or more sellers than buyers, you could just adjust this worksheet. So right now we're saying our business would be 50-50 between the two. So that's $50,000 of income coming in from listings and $50,000 of income coming in from buyers. Then the average sales listing price taken is I don't know, what is it around here? 700,000. So we got the average sales price is listing taken about 700. Say average sales price, let's say 600. Let's be conservative and say the average commission is 2%. So you could add in transactions fees if you'd like, or what percentage you pay. I think this is a. Oops. What splits do you pay on your transaction fees? I want to say both. Okay, so this example is showing that I need to, at If I can scroll up a little bit, if you guys still see this. So $600,000 average sales price, right? 2% commission. I need to make, it's about $12,000 per transaction. Once I pay off royalties and company dollar, it's showing I need to close 4 listings and 4 buyers. So it's 8 total transactions with a closed volume of about 5 million. You know, my annual gross is 100,000. My income before expenses, you know, is 75,000 because I just paid 25,000 in royalties. And which one is this? COGS. Oh, I think I messed up on my goal here. So it's showing my net goal, income goal of 25,000 at $48 an hour. Huh.
Is that something, Rob, that is available on a server or can be shared?
Yeah, no, of course. This is from the MRA book. So I could drop this in I could drop it in the chat for you to play with.
Thank you.
So I have this is the economic model. So I have a couple different ones. I have a little more simpler than this, which is hand filled in. This is something that was, you know, obviously written by somebody. So I wonder if one of the calculations are off here. So once we put in what our goals are, we could actually scroll over and see, you know, based on the MRA book, what our expenses would be. So it's showing, you know, monthly expenses over on this side based on the MRA book and their percentages. So obviously like education, 10%, you know, phones, 1%. Most people don't spend 1% on their phone. Lead generation, almost 10%. So you're spending, you know, to make that money, you're spending $766 per month to get to that goal. So there's a lot of different calculators that we could use. This is one that I've used quite often. Besides using my normal P&L, mine's a little more complicated because I have a team, so it's a lot more numbers involved. Do you guys also have the CTE, Commitment to Excellence spreadsheet that you use in Long Beach?
No, I don't have it.
No.
No? Okay, that's another tool. I don't have it here yet in La Mirada either, but I believe our Cerritos office does. I thought maybe Long Beach might have had it already. So I'll see, let me see. Let me find this and drop it in the chat for you. And then you could play with it as well. Just drop it on my desktop here. So workbook. Let's find the chat bar. All right, what questions do you have for me so far? Chat. Oh, there we go. I got a couple questions here. I'd like to learn more about the tax write-offs for our business. That's a really great question. Everything I write off on my taxes is stuff that I use for my business. So I have a laundry list of stuff, but I would definitely want to get a checklist from your CPA off advising you about that. I write off everything. I write off my clothes. I mean, I'm wearing a jacket right now that's marketing material for my business. Same thing with my shirts. I write off my door knocking shoes. I write off signage, all the marketing material. I have a lot of photo equipment, computers, software, anything that I'm using to run my business, my internet at my house. I have a home office. So there's actually a huge laundry list of stuff that you could write off for your business, for you to actually make money. So any expense that you have that you're using to attempt to make money for your business would most likely be a tax write-off. But I would definitely suggest sitting down with your CPA and going over a checklist of what they recommend, and then going from there. But I mean, I just came back from Georgia and Florida, and I stopped by a bunch of Keller Williams real estate offices to network with some agents out there about sending referrals. So a portion of my trip would actually be a tax write-off as well. So I do a lot of education and training classes as well, that I write off for my business. They're expenses that I'm using to help my business grow. A lot of my business comes from referrals, so I write all that stuff off as well. But I think Nick, when he comes back on Tuesday, I'll shoot him an email. I'll have him drop you guys the checklist for write-offs for your taxes. We have some from some CPAs. I don't have it on my new computer here, but I'm pretty sure on my old hard drive I could pull one up for you.
Thanks a lot, Rob.
So what other questions do we have real quick? And you also write off portion of your car payment with a $179 deduction? That's a good question. So usually you could write off a couple things for your car. You can write off either the mileage, or you could write off the percentage of use that you're working with on your car. So usually they're going to look at what do you use for personal and what do you actually use for business. So I would look at which one benefits you the most. A lot of times it's going to be the mileage on your car. And doing so, you'd have to keep a mileage log. So if you guys aren't keeping a mileage log, I would definitely, get a little notebook. I keep it in my car when I leave my house to the time I get to work, or what I do for the day in business. I write down the mileage per day, and then I can calculate that for the year. Otherwise, if it's 100% for business, like I have more than one vehicle, so one's 100% for business and one I use for personal use. So I write off everything I have to do with that vehicle, like the payment, the fuel, any mechanical expenses, and then my other vehicle I use for personal use.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at with that, the section 179. Depending on how much you use your vehicle for business purposes, you can write off that percentage of the car, basically.
Yeah. So I have different vehicles. So I use one just for business. Like I use my truck driving around for business and driving clients around. And then my other vehicle I use at home is what I use for the kids, car seats. So typically everything in one car for me is business and the other one is personal. But before I had more than one vehicle, I would typically just write, I keep track of the mileage. Was probably my biggest write-off was mileage for work only. So again, some things, like these things that we're talking about, write-offs for your business and keeping track of those things is what most, well, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of real estate professionals don't keep track of these things because they're not running a real estate business. They just happen to be helping friends and family or somebody buy a house. The difference between running a business is having a chart of things that you need to write off, keeping track of those in one spot and creating your P&L and seeing what that looks like month over month. And then from your P&L, you're able to track how much more money I need to be making or how many houses I need to sell to stay on course of hitting my goals.
You can also write off meals and entertainment, and usually it's 50%. So you submit your receipts and you get 50% written off. But because of COVID, they're doing 100% meals and entertainment written off.
Really? Wow, that's interesting. Where do you get that information from?
From my mom. She's been doing my dad's taxes for the past, 20 years.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent.
She calculates it and then she submits it to our CPA, and usually everything works out.
Gotcha. Okay. So I would definitely do what you're doing, is seeking advice from a professional. That we're always going to suggest that, and you want to suggest the same thing to your customers when you're working with buyers and sellers when they ask you, tax questions. I refer them back to a tax accountant, or there's a lot of questions and answers on irs.gov. I would definitely use that as a resource as well. Oh, perfect. I just shared a screen with you. Let me pull it up on my other computer here so I can see it as well. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right, so in your participation guide on page 11, you'll see a short checklist of best practices. This list is not by any means, great way to put yourself in a path to financial well-being. You should be able to use this checklist and check off the first items that spark your interest in setting some of these goals. So go through the list and briefly, check them out. And let's talk a little bit more about each one of these. So number one is gain clarity on your big goal and your life's hopes and dreams. So right now you're either just getting into the real estate business or you already have a real estate business. Let's keep track of what you want it to look like and create some goals around that, and then what it is right now. So usually when I set my business plan in October, I'll set 2 sets of goals. One of them is my goal for this year, and the next one is my big goal. And my big goal might be 5 times the income, growing a bigger organization. I want to kind of take a look at where I want to be and then focus on the steps that it takes me to get there. So if we only focus on this year's goals, you don't have that type of growth mindset. So I always want to see the big picture, and have people laugh at it a little bit. And especially your friends and family will typically laugh at the goals I set in front of myself, but without putting them out there, they don't become real to me. So I want to look at my big goal and clarity around that, like where I want to go, so I can create business plans year over year to get me to my end goal. An end goal is typically retiring, having a certain amount of positive cash flow for income to live the life I want to live without the hassle of actually coming to work. So typically we work because we have to, not because we want to. Once you get into a position where work becomes something that you just enjoy compared to having to do it, makes life a little bit easier to live. I'm not sure if any of you are in that position now. I know some people are in that position. They get a real estate license and they start just practicing real estate because it's fun. They necessarily don't have to for a living. Is anybody in that position? Not mad at you. I'm just jealous. No? All right. So we're all on the same page here. So number 2 is setting your personal and business budgets, like what you actually want to spend money on. So this was actually my biggest challenge, especially for my personal budget. And my wife and I, we go over this all the time. I typically wouldn't keep a personal budget. I'd have a budget for my business. And then in my personal life, I'm just spending money all over the place, anywhere I possibly can with no rhyme or reason. And, she's the one who keeps me on track of like, hey, we can only spend so much money per month on certain things because we actually have personal goals that we want to accomplish and use that money toward buying other properties and investing in other avenues. So definitely setting your personal and business budgets are going to be extremely important. And then setting up your business entity. So there's a lot of tax advantages to having an LLC or an S Corp. And I'm not qualified to go over those with you. So I would definitely sit down with your tax preparer. Does anybody here have better insights or maybe are qualified to talk about building a business entity or the benefits of owning one? Okay, no, never
Well,
know.
what I heard
def-
are like the shelters, or not necessarily the shelters, but like in case you get in trouble or anything, they go after the LLC versus you as a person. But that's the only thing I've heard.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's putting a buffer between you personally and your business practices.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not necessarily qualified to talk about it, but my dad he's a real estate attorney and sets up LLCs, stuff like that. And it basically just, the name of it is limited liability company, and it limits your liability, basically.
Gotcha. Excellent. And that's a really great question on Tuesday for the broker when he comes in is, You know, your LLC doesn't have a real estate license. You do. So the things that you do with your real estate license, whether you have an LLC or not, are attached to you, the person. So I don't want people to think just because they get an LLC or an S corp that they're protected from providing their customer with the best fiduciary possible, because you are held responsible for that. When it comes to, you know, sheltering stuff from some other things, then that probably the case. But like, again, your LLC and your S corp does not have a real estate license. You do personally. So you're definitely attached to those transactions. So keep that in mind. So another one is opening up additional business accounts for taxes, expenses, and other savings. This has been a lifesaver for me, because if it's not in my checking account, I don't spend it. If it is there, I spend it. So if you're a little compulsive like myself and see that you have a bunch of money in your account and it's Saturday and you go shopping, this is a great way to keep your goals in line as well. So if you have, you know, a goal for buying an investment property, you're going to set 10% of everything you make into that actual account. If it's not in your checking account, it's in a second account for savings or for owning an investment property. I would name it investment property number 4. And then that's where the money is going to go into that account, and I don't touch it. And that's has its own expense, right? So really great practice. Downloading using the MRE chart of accounts. Those are actually, we've seen some of those on here. It's on your book on page 157. And then keeping track of that, how much money you're spending in each one of those categories. So you're not spending more money on supplies when you should be spending that amount of money on lead generation. Because what you don't want to do is spend the profit money. You want to, you have so much money set aside for expenses and cost of sales. Some of those might get out of line with each other, but they're not going over the allotted amount. So if your allotted amount is 30%, you're not spending 35% on expenses. You're only spending 30%. What you do within that 30%, some vary month to month, but they do not go over that amount. And that's where you have that budget where it's like, I will not spend this. You're playing what we call red light, green light. I only spend money when I have the money. And we have some classes, Baller on a Budget, where you'll be spending more time on lead generation, doing prospecting than marketing, due to the fact that marketing costs you money and prospecting just costs you time. And then downloading any tax accounting software, like the Commitment to Excellence or some simple P&Ls to be able to track your money. I would definitely suggest hiring an accountant and a CPA. That's definitely number one. I've stopped doing my taxes probably 20 years ago, and haven't done them since. The laws change consistently. As you said, your dad's a real estate attorney, and your mom does the accounting. They probably know more about that world than you do, and they know a lot more in that world because they're in that world. Let's stay in our lane. And you're going to stay in your lane as well. You're a real estate professional. Let's stay in that lane. The mortgage professionals, let's let them stay in their lane as well. So I don't go off giving mortgage advice. I let them, the lenders do that. That's their lane, and they don't get in mine. I don't get in theirs. Would you agree with that, Brandon?
Yep, I agree with that.
Gotcha. There's a reason why we pay them, and they do a really great job. My tax accountant does the same really great job as well. He sends me text messages and emails when things are due. He lets me know when some of the laws change, and if they change not in my favor, we need to make some adjustments to my business to make sure I don't I have the amount of tax savings that I need as well. So set dates and calculate and pay your estimated taxes. Again, working with that CPA and that accountant, I know how much money I need to pay the IRS per quarter. So I'm not stuck with this monster bill at the end of the year. I'm not sure if any of that's happened to you guys, but like I said, it's happened to me, and it sucks. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. And then prepare for your future: insurance, savings, investments. Take a look again at that number one, which is your big goal, your big why. What's that going to look like? And then start preparing for that. If you can get away, I work with a lot of, young real estate professionals. They just got into the business. They don't have a lot of life expenses yet. It's a perfect opportunity for them to make as much money as possible and buy their first investment property. right? They don't have a lot of other expenses. They don't need fancy cars and chains and shoes. And let's go ahead and like focus on getting some money and making your money work for you and buying some investment properties, or other type of investments to continue growing their portfolio before they, get 9 kids and 40 years on them like myself, and then start. So it's more of a little uphill battle. So I definitely would start preparing for what you want that future to look like now, especially because you're in a really awesome position in real estate to really control the amount of money that you make. Any questions there?
Not for you, but for Brendan. I think he should probably put us all in contact with his dad if he does real estate LLCs.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put his information in the chat. So he does a lot of real estate law, but he also does like litigation and business formation and stuff like that. So yeah, you guys can definitely get in contact with him for sure.
Thank
Gotcha.
you.
Awesome. Thank you. And if you want some additional resources, each one of your guys' market centers has, real estate attorneys. They probably have some in-house vendors that work with them as well. Part of your lead generation should be finding some really great CPAs. So CPAs actually send you quite a bit of business. One of the tax guys that I work with here sends me probably 5 or 6 transactions a year. So I'm actually in escrow on one right now. He was doing their taxes. Looks like they need to purchase another property and, to save on taxes. So it's like, hey, you got to get this guy into a property in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Turn him over to my team, wrote some offers, put him in escrow, and this guy will be able to save on taxes now that he's purchasing a property. Same thing. I just got another one from a tax CPA yesterday. It's like, hey, this guy lives in Cyprus. He needs to buy another property. He's gonna die paying taxes. So it's either he's gonna buy the property or pay all these tax money. I said, okay, awesome. And then he sends them to me and I help him find some property. So part of your lead generation on your 135, if you're not working with business to business relationships, CPAs, attorneys, divorce attorneys, really great resource for getting a bunch of business. So I would definitely tap into some of those. Brendan already has his set up, so that's pretty awesome. What else we got here? Where are we on time? We're blowing through time pretty quick. So how's everybody doing with their 10-4s?
I don't really achieve a 10-4 every day. No. I'm still ramping up, but it's a lot. To be thorough about all those things is really a lot.
The 10-4 looks easy, right? It looks really easy. And I've taken Ignite years ago, and it looks easy. Like, make 10 contacts a day. Yeah, okay. Have 10 conversations. Add 10 people. Adding 10 people to your database is a little bit of work. Like it seems easy, right? Success is simple. It's just not easy. So these numbers look very simple. Write 10 handwritten notes. So you got to have 10 conversations to write 10 handwritten notes. And then previewing properties right now is a little easier due to COVID. We're not jumping, there's no open houses to jump through to look at all the properties. So we're looking at them online. But the 10-4 is a big task to accomplish. So if 10 is too big of a number and you have a lot going on, I would just lower that number. But if you could attempt to do something consistently every single day, the results come from that. So it's time over task over time. How much time am I going to work on each task over how many days is going to get me a result? So it's just like anything else. You could do 10 push-ups right now and then do 10 push-ups next week, or you could do 10 a day. And then sooner or later you'll be able to do 15 a day. You'll build up this tolerance and you'll actually put it on your schedule to get some of those things done. So if you can't do 10 a day because whatever the resource or reason is, maybe you have another job and you're only doing this as a dual career agent before shifting to full-time, great. Don't make it 10, make it 2. Have 2 conversations per day, 2 people added to your database, write 2 notes and mail them out to somebody, and check out 2 houses online. The whole goal, 10 is a great number to get you to where you want to be quickly. Although if you have other circumstances, you do another number. The whole purpose isn't that it has to be 10. The purpose of the exercise is to do consistent business every single day. Do we all kind of
Yeah.
get that?
Yeah, I feel like I need to go outside of my sphere for like lead generation services to really achieve this, to expand quickly that database.
Yeah. And how are we doing on the database? The database is your number one lead generation source. Has everyone already downloaded the stuff from their phone into a CSV file and uploaded into a CRM? Everyone has a database?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Is everyone using the same database or are they using something different? Who's using something other than Command?
I was using Lion's Desk, but I'm slowly switching over.
Okay, and Lions Desk is a great CRM, right? So there's, here's the thing with CRMs is that they all work. All the stuff works. You just actually have to use it. So Lions Desk is a great CRM. It doesn't do all the things that Command does, but it's still a great tool. So I would rather use any tool than using no tool. But Command does have some really great features to it, and it works with all your other applets as well. So it works out pretty well. Has everyone went to the Command training, command101.teachable? Has anyone not heard of it? So everyone's heard of command101.teachable? So it's a really great resource. I would definitely suggest going to that and actually watching all of the videos. It's going to go in order. Obviously learning how to manage and tag contacts is probably number one. And then going through how to, place Facebook ads, how to go ahead and do, work with your opportunities, how to organize your database, and so forth. It's an amazing tool. I use it every day. So I just started posting out some new Facebook lead ads that are bringing in some leads, which are kind of cool. Since I don't have a lot of time right now to lead generate for real estate business, my main objective all day is helping agents grow their business. So I leverage that with running Facebook lead ads to pull the leads in that I need to be able to hit my goals for the year. Since I don't have time to, sit here and call a lot of customers, I'm calling real estate agents, right? So I have a full-time job. So in return, still continuing to sell real estate, I have to think a little bit differently to get that done. And you could do the same thing. You could still prospect what you're doing now and then use Facebook lead ads to drive more leads to your database. And what's really cool about the Facebook lead ads is that when you get a lead, they automatically become a contact in your database. You could just click on them, put them on a smart plan, and boom, they're getting touched automatically. So whether you get a phony phone number or not, you probably have the right email address, put them on a drip and work that and see if you can get some leads or some further information from them as well. So since we're talking about lead generation, what else are you guys doing for lead generation? It's the lifeblood of your business. Lead generation is the heartbeat. What are we doing for lead generation to drive leads so we can get appointments for closings?
I've initiated with services for lead gen like Vulcan 7, RedX.
Okay. And so you're working what expireds and FSBOs?
Well, yeah, I'm not licensed yet, but I'm setting the stage for all that.
Gotcha. Now, have you reached out to your SOI and let them know that you're in real estate now?
Yeah, I've even I got elected to my board of directors at my association. I hope that's a nice inroads for me.
That would be a great one.
Yeah, it's a lot of stress and drama, so I don't recommend it. It's not fun, but I want to do this to get started.
Gotcha. And it's a great lead generation source as well, putting yourself out there. Your SOI, the people that know, like, and trust you, is going to be your number one lead gen source right off the bat to start building that database. It might not be their business, but it might be leads to other people's business, like their friends and family who are thinking about getting more information about real estate, the real estate market, and what they need to, either sell a home or build some wealth through purchasing homes. Has anyone had a rough time making some phone calls or had some really great objections that kind of stopped them in their tracks that they might want to maybe practice right now and see if they can get over some of these objections?
You know, as you can expect, it's a little hard reaching out to people that, you know, you're not extremely close with them. You like them, you think they like you, and you don't want to, you know, you want to respect the relationship and not just say, I'm calling you because I want your house or your, you know, your family's house or whatever. You know, so it's delicate as you're getting started. And I think we've become conditioned to sales pitches.
And we have. So, and you could see the sales pitch coming typically when you're on the phone with somebody wanting to buy some knives or, you know, buy you a vacuum or something like that, or buy a timeshare. So, you know, to get around that, you're actually coming from a place of value. So usually I'm educating people on what's happening in the market just in case they were thinking about doing something or getting some more information. My wife, for example, she was watching like a makeup tutorial, right? And she follows somebody about makeup online. That person that sells makeup online just happens to have a real estate license as well. And she has a lot of followers, right? I'm not sure what platform she's looking at, maybe Facebook or something, right? So, and we talked about it last night. She says, yeah, well, this makeup lady, she has a real estate license. And she started like posting about real estate and telling everybody that there's this huge bubble and the market's going to crash like 2008. So, you know, a dual career agent, somebody with a real estate license, not in California, they have a license in Florida, but nonetheless, is a makeup person giving real estate advice as an economist based on what their feelings are, not necessarily based on any facts. So my wife comes to me and says, hey, I heard about this real estate bubble popping and, you know, prices dropping and kind of like the world coming to an end, like in 2008. And I said, well, where did you get this data from? Well, I got it from the makeup lady. Like, okay, great. Well, you know, I really appreciate you bringing, you know, the economic package and, you know, economics into the conversation from the makeup lady, because she's definitely an expert in that field. But my wife actually started to believe that. So if you're not the economist of choice for your people, they will believe somebody else. They'll get their news from the Kardashians. You know, and I don't know if the Kardashians know, you know, economics or real estate, but that's not where I want my family and my friends getting their information from. So although sometimes it feels, you feel that you're providing them with some sort of sales pitch to get their business, I think I come across more as an economist, like letting them know what's happening in the market and what's happening in the economy. So that if you're planning on doing something, they will come back to me for more information, not necessarily looking to help them buy or sell a home, which was what my end product will be. My conversation is about what's happening in the market. So when somebody asks me, I let them know, it's like, hey, you know, I'm giving you a call to let you know what's happening in the market right now, just in case you didn't know, and you were planning on doing something. Here's what the facts are. And if it's their specific area, like say it's Orange County or LA County, there's different things going on in different counties and different states. I'll call my SOI out of other states as well, letting them know what's going on overall. And if they want more information or they know somebody who does, like bring them my way. So I'm coming across as what Gary would say, the economist of choice, so that when they do go to do something, they know that I have the information and they're not getting it from, like my wife, getting it from the makeup lady or getting it from the Kardashians or some, I don't know, movie star on TV that thinks they know something. It comes from you based on facts and information. So makes the conversation a little easier with my SOI and my database when I'm coming across just giving them information, giving them value compared to, you know, like, hey, who do you know is looking to buy or sell? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Appreciate that, Rob. So, you know, it's on us to increase our values so we can easily bring it to our sphere. Thank you.
Now, I don't know if you guys were around in 2020 when the pandemic first got started in real estate or at Keller Williams. What was really amazing about our company is when the pandemic hit, you know, we wrote a book called Shift. And if you haven't seen, stop this share screen here. If you haven't read the Shift book, I would suggest, you know, we have free downloads of this. If you haven't read it already, the Shift book is really amazing. It's going to help you with quite a few tactics on what to do in your business in a shifting market. And right when the pandemic hit, we were automatically pushed into a shift. This wasn't something that Gary Keller or other economists could have seen coming. It just happened right away and happened very quickly. And because we know how to shift, our company was able to educate our customers, which is you. You are Keller Williams customers, right? And then you are going to deliver that message to your customers on how to run your business during the pandemic, how to shift, how to adjust all those expenses that we just got done talking about. We want to cut all of those. So we cut all of them. We showed our agents how to cut their expenses and how to double down on lead generation. And the biggest part of lead generation was contacting your SOI. Those people that know, like, and trust you, that maybe haven't heard from you in a while and know that you're in real estate, you're not looking to sell their house. You were calling them to give them information about the pandemic. There's a lot of people that are not in work right now. Do you need to, and you own your own business, do you need help filling out for a PPP loan? You know, is there any needs that you have? I got an extra couple rolls of toilet paper. Do you need those? Right? So we reach out to our customers to provide them with information, front-hand information on how to protect them financially. Like, hey, start cutting all your expenses right away. If you don't need the cable, cut it off. You don't know if you're going back to work in a year, and it's been a year. So we were able to be the economist of choice. They relied on us, they leaned on us. And in doing so, touching our database more than we've ever touched them before, and that was direction from KWRI, we were able to have one of the best years we've ever had in real estate, period, during a pandemic. There's no other company out there that sold 1.5 million transactions in 2020, right? So those are just numbers. Those are real. So being that economist of choice and coming from contribution and just being the voice of data is put you in a position. So when they were looking to make a move or sell, or, you know, they could work from home now, so they want a bigger home. COVID changed a lot of the ways we see our home. There's a lot of things at your home that you don't like anymore. I never spent so much time in my home ever. There's things I don't like. My wife's like, I've been here, like, we got to change things. Either got to move, got to downsize, need an extra room, put on a 2-story, redo the pool. We got to do something because we're living in our homes a lot more. Made them think about their homes. And guess what? When they're thinking about their homes, they're thinking about me. They're thinking about you. That was the conversation that needed to be had. And we had those, and we had our best year ever. And because of that, other companies didn't grow as much. And we were able to survive, and not only survive, when the market does make a turn, we are going to thrive even more than the 11% market share we have now. And that's where it puts you in a really great position from the top down on how to communicate with your customers effectively in a way that's non-threatening. So I know I spoke a lot of words in the last 30 minutes. Let me open it up to you guys. We do have a couple slides left that, you know, we've been through the same stuff before, but I want to kind of just take a few minutes and talk about you and your business and what your needs are so I can help you plug in. You only have, I think, one more class left, 2 more classes left of Ignite before you take the class again, is what I would suggest. What questions do you have for me based on these finances or based on anything else that I could help you specifically on?
Oh, Rob, I wanted to ask again about the P&L file, the one in Excel that's, you said it's in the book, but I have a hard copy of that book. So I don't know if I have access to that Excel.
Gotcha. Let me find it. When you drop stuff in the chat box, are you dropping links, or you could actually drop files? Can I drop a file in there? Oh, I could right there.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me find this file and drop it in there for you. Open this up. Chat box. Oh, I'm in the wrong page. Okay, well, keep chatting. Throw out some questions. I'll find this thing right now and drop it in there. Chat file. It's in a Google file. Okay. All right, what questions do you have for me? Something's happening in your business, something you want to know about your business, something you want to know about my business.
So I have a buyer who understands the whole, setting herself up financially. She wants to buy a condo or a townhouse. But then I finally took her to see them. And then obviously the ideal one's the one that's priced high and it's, higher than her budget. And she's like, okay, well then now I don't want to be dealing with the overbidding process. I'm like, okay, but so I'm just trying to figure out how do I overcome that to let her know that she is going down the right step with the trying to build herself financial wealth.
Okay, that's a great question. So you have a couple things there. So they want to buy. Well, finding out the reason why they want to buy and their why behind that is going to be extremely powerful, and that's what's going to be the driving factor for them to actually do something. Once you have that down, then you're going to chat with them about what we call the cost of waiting. The cost of waiting is what it's going to cost them if they don't buy now. And your job isn't to force them into something. Your job, again, is just to give them more information for them to make the best decision. A lot of times I'll use these numbers with the lender. So say, for example, I have I qualify for, an $800,000 house at 5% down at a 3% interest rate, right? Well, once the interest rates are going up, which they are now, and that interest rate goes to 4%, well, my income didn't go up, but my percentage rate went up. So now I don't qualify for an $800,000 house. I qualify for a, $740,000 or $750,000 house. So now I don't qualify for the 800s. Now I might not be able to move into the city that I'm looking into. I might have to move to the neighboring city. So I can't buy in, say, Fullerton anymore. Now I only qualify to push either further out into the IE or maybe come back into LA and pick something up in Norwalk. Well, I want to be in this area. So for me to get to the area that I want, it's a certain price point to get into. So the cost of waiting and not getting one might push them out of the market for what they're looking for. Or they might actually be able to miss the mark by waiting. So what we do know is that houses appreciate every year for the most part. And this year is already, the economists are saying it's going to appreciate another 10%. So that $800,000 house, not only is the interest rate might go up, which they are going up, that house is going to be worth, $880,000, 30, 40 weeks from now. So not only are they going to pay more, would they rather bid, $20,000 over asking now and maybe get on that house at 820? Or do they have enough money to save to be able to pay 880, 12 months from now? For me personally, I'd rather pay 820 now and 20,000 over than to wait 12 months and pay 880. And I still capitalize on having the lower interest rate right now compared to the higher interest rate later. So typically the house values aren't going to drop faster or enough to match the raising interest rates. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
On that?
I guess that's what I needed to do is emphasize the cost of waiting because she's ready and she knows luckily for me, it's for financial wealth versus I just want to get into a house. So being able to use those will definitely help.
Gotcha. Now financial wealth, so she's going to rent this property out.
Yeah, her goal is to rent it out at least for the interim before she moves in. It's right now where she's living right now, it's such a cheap rate in rent that she doesn't really want to leave where she is, but she wants to get in the market before it gets even higher. So to get herself into a place now, rent it out, and then once she has to leave, her lease is up here, she'll move into her own place.
Gotcha. So if she doesn't own any properties now, she's missing out on a lot of the advantages of owning a property. Is one of them, it's a utility. I mean, you have to live somewhere, right? So you're either paying rent or you're paying your mortgage, even though her rent is less than what her mortgage payment is. She's not taking advantage of maybe the tax benefits. You're writing off the interest on your loan. You're writing off depreciation. And then you're gaining in the appreciation. So the longer she rents, the more appreciation is going to somebody else. So if we're appreciating 10% a year, say even 5% a year on an $800,000 house, that's $40,000 a year divided by 12. That's what, $3,500 a month. So she's missing out on making $3,500 a month in appreciation. Is that how much less her rent is? Is her mortgage going to be $4,000, but she's only paying $500? If that's not the case, then she's actually losing money by waiting. And then again, the cost of waiting, and our job isn't to scare them or push them. Our job is to give them information and let them make the best decision. So whatever you want to do is completely up to you. But what I do is what I know is most of my clients don't have enough income to save $80,000 a year to keep up with appreciation. So what they usually tend to do is buy now, even though they're paying maybe above appraised value or above list price, but they're definitely still going to benefit. So if they were going to buy at list price at 800 or market value at 800, and a year from now it's worth 880, they made $80,000 in savings in equity. If they bought it now at 820, they still made $60,000 in appreciation in that year. But if they didn't buy anything, they made no appreciation and they still had to pay rent. So they're still in the negative. So it's kind of like a lose-lose compared to a win-win. Now I work closely with your lender, whichever lender you're working with, unless they're buying all cash, on actually breaking down some of those numbers. And the lenders are really, really good at that. And just give them a couple scenarios. Here's a scenario of buying now. Here's what we know you're going to get. We have no idea what the future looks like, but I know right now interest rates for you, since you've already been pre-approved, is this. Your house payment is going to be this, and the house is worth this. In the future, let's give just a couple scenarios, like house price goes down 10%, but interest rates go up 1%. What does that look like? And then give another scenario where, the property value goes up still, which they're saying it is, and the interest rates go up, which they're saying they are. Not significantly, but they're going to go up. So let's look at what that picture looks like and what those payments look like. So are you willing to wait and pay more? Or you could just, play it by ear. I mean, my job isn't to gamble with your house and your life and your money. That's your job. My job is to give you the facts and what the potential is and the probable is. And then from there, you make the best decision. And they usually will make a decision, and it's completely up to them. Sometimes they want to wait. Sometimes they want to move forward now. My job is just to give them information based on what I know, and then give them some scenarios on what could possibly happen in the future. But the only thing I could control is what I know now. And I know now interest rates are still, 3%, house values, more houses are coming on the market. The refinances are less and less refinances are happening every month. So that means interest rates are probably going up where everyone and their mom's already refinanced. So they're focusing on house sales now. So let's focus on what we can control now, and the future is the future. If she's not planning on selling in the next 2 or 3 years, it'll always be a good idea to buy. Usually. What else? Did that help in any way?
Yeah, actually, the first two scenarios that you gave actually work perfectly anyways, because one of my other buyers was waiting, so the interest rate did go up slightly, so they qualified for less, and then the other one had planned on putting in an offer on a home, and they decided not to, and the exact same value of money they have now qualifies for less of a home. So I actually get to use real life issues with that as well. So yeah, it helps a lot. Thank you.
It's painful. And I have some customers that I sold houses to in the past. They said the same thing. It's like, well, prices are going to come down. Prices are coming down. And guess what? Prices did come down. You know what went up? The interest rate went up. You know what didn't go up? Was their income. Their income didn't go up. So actually qualified for less. And the single family house they wanted to buy in Cypress or Buena Park didn't happen. They ended up getting a townhouse, which they're still in. They never got, we're talking 10 years now. They didn't have the opportunity then. And their income hasn't caught up to what the house values were going up. And they still can't afford to move into a single family. So their cost of waiting stopped them from purchasing a single family house for a decade now. So they'd have to get another job or have another source of income to be able to afford to buy the same house they were looking to buy because they wanted to wait for prices to come down. And I gave them the same scenario and they chose the latter, and that's fine. But now they know they're in that position. So just give them some information and see where it goes from there. What else? Oh, I found it. Awesome. Okay, I was able to find the simple P&L and drop it in the chat box. Next, I'm looking for that MREA model as well. So the simple P&L is pretty cool. So go ahead and feel free to click on that and drop that on your computer. It's called simple P&L because it's very simple. Now I'll find that MREA model for you somewhere. I got a new computer. It's a little hard to search for it because I've had like 3 hard drives. Anyhow, what other questions you have in your business right now? Like right now, you have some sort of something going on in your business. Maybe you want to chat about something to overcome. Something about Keller Williams, something about the training. I'm open for anything. MREA. And if I don't have if I can't get you that file right now, I'll definitely have it for you on Tuesday for your next class.
I have a question. So now, how do you help leverage a FHA client? Because obviously everyone wants a conventional or all cash right now. How do you leverage them or help them get their offer accepted in this market?
Whew.
They're not supposed to be easy questions, right?
That's $1 million question right now. So usually it's going to come down to terms and or cash. So usually Remo did a really great class here. I think we have it on our YouTube channel where he broke down a worksheet and went through the different scenarios with different buyers on what makes somebody strong and what makes somebody weak. So if we have 5 different things on the weak side, most likely your offer is not getting accepted. So for myself, when I'm working with an FHA buyer and they're only putting, say, 3.5% down, they don't look that attractive to the sellers. And usually it's not the seller. Like let's get a lot of things straight. Usually it's the listing agent. The sellers are looking at the sales price. Hey, are we going to get this price for our house? They're not usually looking at the terms like, what type of buyer are they? What type of financing do they have? I mean, do these people have money in the bank? Do they have good jobs? I mean, they might ask some of those questions, but typically they're not like, well, if they're FHA, I don't want them. Like that's a listing agent thing. It's typically not a seller thing unless your seller's pretty savvy, right? So in a listing agent's mind, they have a breakdown of what they think is the best, right? At the end of the day, the sales price is the sales price. Like they're getting the money from somewhere. It's just not all coming from one spot. So in a lot of listing agents' mind, it's like all cash, conventional loans, maybe above 20%, then conventional 20%. Then they go down to the FHA product and they have different percentages. And then in their mind, they say, well, next is VA. And then after that, the next one is maybe a contingent buyer, contingent upon them selling their house. So in their mind, those are kind of like the top to down. So if knowing this information, where do you sit on that chart? It's like, okay, well, I'm FHA 3.5% down. I'm not all cash. I'm not conventional. So I'm maybe 3 or 4 pegs down from being number 1. Okay, great. So knowing that, what other things do we have on that offer that we make a little bit more attractive besides the 3.5% down financing? Now, just because they're putting 3.5% down doesn't mean they don't have any money. I mean, I can have $200,000 in the bank, be a first-time home buyer, and still want to use my FHA 3.5%. Like that doesn't mean that I'm not qualified. It just means that's the loan program I'm choosing. I could have amazing ratios of like 20% debt to income ratio compared to maybe 50%, right? So I can have great income, great cash, great FICOs. I'm just using an FHA product because you know what? I don't want to put all that money down. I want to buy 5 more homes, or I want to do something else with it. Like I don't want to spend it all. So knowing some of that information could make them a stronger borrower. Like, hey, here's proof of funds. They got $200,000 in the bank. You know, here's their FICO scores. Here's the debt to income ratio. I mean, I just accepted an offer 2 days ago and their debt to income ratio was like 22%. I was like, that's awesome. So only 20%, 22% of their income is going toward their house payment and their bills. So that's a great percentage. So that was a very strong borrower. And we looked at that with the seller. So they weren't putting a whole bunch of money down, but they had great income, great credit. And then are they willing to pay above appraised value? You know, if they have some cash and they're willing to pay above that, then that's actually going to maybe bring them up a little bit. Their inspection time periods, do they want termite? Do they want a home warranty? Are they going to do their inspections faster? Is their loan already pre-approved where they could actually close faster? Maybe not close in 30 days. Maybe they can close in 21 days or 15 days or 17 days, depending on their lender. So these are some of the things that I would probably sit down and chat with them about to make their offer more attractive. And then you have relationships. And I think relationships are key. So knowing the other agent and having a relationship with them, or having your customer have a relationship with the seller. And I just recently had this last week where, you know, I don't show properties very often. Even on the listings, I'm usually not there. My team's there. And we weren't able to make this appointment since I'm working and my partner was showing properties. We allowed the buyer just to show up with the agent and the sellers let them in. Well, guess what? The sellers made a relationship with the buyer. Oh, this family's awesome. I really liked them. You know, and because of that relationship that they made, like I'm really leaning toward these people. So they had an opportunity to ask the seller some questions, to ask them about the house. And this made the buyer a better buyer. And it made the seller inclined to use that buyer compared to the other offers, even though they were all the same. So, and the relationship with the other agent. I think, you know, when I work with buyers and sellers, I said, look, for a seller to sell your house once, I actually have to sell it twice. I need to sell it to the listing agents, or excuse me, to the selling agents, and they need to sell it to their buyers. As a buyer's agent, you're called the selling agent. You're selling that house to the buyer. To do so, I got to sell that house to you. So I advertise to agents, and then agents advertise to their customers. I usually don't advertise directly to customers. Same thing with my buyers. I tell my buyers, like, hey, look, I know a lot of agents. I've been in the business a while. I make it a point to do all these networking events. Before becoming a team leader, I was always at networking events, networking with other agents in my office, outside of my office, out of our company, making those relationships, friending them on Facebook, you know, doing different events together, going to their open houses, and with these relationships, they know I only work with qualified, motivated buyers. And in doing so, when they're talking to their sellers about me, it's like, well, you know, I know Rob. Rob wouldn't work with somebody. He doesn't have the time. He's got 6 kids. He doesn't got time to work with these buyers. He only works with buyers that are going to close. And when I open an escrow, I close. Unless something dramatic happens, we're closing. Our job is to get that thing to close. My buyers want it. Your sellers want to move. So that relationship really helps. So I use that a lot when working with buyers and listing agents. As soon as I write that offer, I'm calling them. And I get a lot of calls as well as the team leader say, hey, Rob, do you know this person? Like, oh, I do know this person. Okay, great. Do you mind sending him a text message saying that you know me and I'm awesome and then my buyers are awesome? I was like, okay, great. Well, I'll do that. Sometimes it works and sometimes I just had one that didn't work this week. It was like, hey, Rob, do you know this other agent? I do. Send a message to them, telling them how awesome I am. And they are an awesome agent. And their buyers didn't match up to what the sellers were looking for on terms, maybe not just price. So definitely breaking down that with your buyer and letting them know that there's give and take on each side. If they don't have the financing that sellers are looking for, then they need to maybe adjust that with some of the terms. And then understanding each one of those and then putting them on a scale from 1 to 10. Where are they on the financing scale? Okay, FHA. Okay, maybe they're a 5. What about FICO score? Oh man, they're a 10. They're like 8 something, 850. Oh, awesome. Wow. And then kind of breaking each one of those down. Money in the bank, you know, debt to income ratio, how much they're willing to pay above appraised value. You know, those things are always come into play. So where are they on a scale of 1 to 10 on each one of those? And that's how you would think about writing your offer moving forward. And then maybe explaining that offer to the other agent as well. On that cover letter, it says, hey, here's what we're offering, but here's all these other things, you know? Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, it does. It's
Still frustrating.
I mean, obviously with, especially now with so many people that are doing all cash or at least 50% cash, and then they have the ability to, do no contingencies and stuff like that. Because with FHA, there's lots of contingencies you cannot remove, especially appraisals and stuff. So, you don't have that leg.
Yeah. And that, oh man, that appraisal contingency thing, as an agent, it really irks me. Like, I don't like that at all. Like, you know, that's an agent thing. It's sad, but it's like us as agents, we're sabotaging our own market, right? Because we're the listing agent, we're demanding all of these things. But then when we're on the buyer side, we're like, oh gosh, this sucks because they're doing it to me. So as a listing agent, I just don't do that. Like, it has to appraise. Like, we'll negotiate if the appraisal doesn't come in. Let's see what that looks like. But to right off the bat, to put the buyer in a tough position, it also puts them in a position to bounce. And when as a listing agent, I want the buyer to stay. I want them to close. So putting all these demands up front, makes them a flight risk on maybe another property that they might get into or just not buy at all. So I don't like to scare my people off, but it's something as an agent we need to address. Maybe not just the sellers don't think of those things. So make some relationship with agents. The best way to get your buyers in escrow is to control the inventory. Focus on finding listings. So doing some reverse prospecting. They want to buy in a specific neighborhood, hit that information from title, get that information, upload in your command, create a Facebook lead ad, advertising just to the people that live in that neighborhood. You could actually make phone calls to that neighborhood. You could send text messages to that neighborhood, letting them know, like, hey, not just like, hey, I got a buyer. You want to sell your house? Like, no, I have a buyer. They're qualified up to this dollar amount. This is the type of financing they have. They're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. If you ever thought about making a move or moving out of state or something, like, I'd love to bring them to your home, like, and then see if somebody responds to that. It's called reverse prospecting. You don't have the seller. There's no sellers out there, but you have the buyer. You'd be surprised how people's like, well, I did think about moving, or this is an investment property. I was thinking about selling, So find that neighborhood that they want to buy in, pull the data for every non-owner occupied. And then those people usually live out of the area or out of state. Send them something, give them a call, buy that data for 7 cents or whatever it costs to get their phone number. And then call them and say, hey, look, I know you have an investment property here in Fullerton or Buena Park or Long Beach. And have you ever thought about maybe selling that property? I have a buyer, inventory is low. They're willing to pay top market dollar for this property. Maybe even saving you some money on some fees by selling it directly to us. That's a possibility. If you had a chance to save $20,000 by selling it for top market value right now and make an additional 20 by working directly with me and my buyer, would you do that? Oh, I didn't even think about that. Okay, well, now's a good time to think about it. You could buy 400 homes in Burnt Mattress, Iowa for the same money you're selling this condo in Long Beach. Might as well sell it to me and buy 5 more. So doing some of that would definitely help. But I hear you. It's a little rough. It's a little rough.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Well, we have 3 or 4 slides left on the slideshow. I don't think it's something you haven't seen before, but let's crush through it. So when we talk about scripts, everybody is scripting and role playing right now. So your office most likely has days and times for scripting and role playing. If you haven't picked a role playing partner, we're kind of toward the end of Ignite here. I think you really missed out on something amazing. I script and role play all the time. And I've been doing this for a long time. So you'd be surprised how many things, even though a veteran like myself misses from time to time, that we really need to sharpen our skills on. So it's something we always need to do. NBA players that are amazing still continue to shoot free throws all day long. They've been shooting free throws for 15 years in the NBA, and they're still practicing free throws. Why? The same reason we need to be practicing what we say, how we say it. And the lead generation is going to look like this. We're going to uncover people's motivation. Logic makes you think, but emotion makes you act. Let's find out what their motivation is emotionally to be able to get them to overcome some of their objections. And then identifying objections, understanding what the objections are and getting them up front. What concerns do you have right now? Oh, well, I got these 9 concerns. Okay, great. Those are the objections. Let's go ahead and figure out what they are. If I don't know them now, you know what? That's a really great question. I'm going to really get back to you. So to give you the right information, to guide you in the right direction, I'm going to do a little bit of research. I'm going to mastermind and I'm going to get right back to you. Is that okay? Okay, great. And then, masterminding and scripts and role playing around closing the deal. How to get them to sign on a contract. How to get them to understand their motivation and move forward with writing that offer. How to close the deal on the listing contract, on the buyer's representation. Some people are having a hard time with buyer representations, which should be probably the easiest thing. I mean, you're providing them with a immense amount of value that costs nothing to them. There should be no reason why they shouldn't agree to work solely with you on a BRE, buyer representation agreement. Super simple to get that signed. And then speak in terms that the customer understands. Scripts and role playing, negotiating the contract, going over a request for repairs, going over the purchase contract with a seller, going over the purchase contract with a buyer. I mean, there's a lot to it. So scripts and role playing those together or in a mastermind group, is definitely going to help. And then lastly, it's going to build your confidence. So, dogs smell fear. I think sellers smell fear too. You come in there without the confidence. I mean, somebody with confidence usually wins. So, and confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from scripting and role playing. I'm competent. I know when the objections come up, I'll have some answers for them. So we're not tricking them. We're actually learning what to say in the power of words to bring clarity to their objections and bringing clarity to the answers to overcome them. So it's the confidence is going to come in doing this over and over again. That way, when you do walk into a room, sometimes I don't even use a listing presentation. Like I already know exactly what I'm going to say. So it becomes more of a conversation. I bring the book and I set it right on the table. And then we could have a conversation without even opening that thing up. And the only time I'd open it up is if I figure out that they're a visual learner. They need to see something. Great. Let's open it up. Let's take a look. So we all know about the do not call list. It's something that KW is going to pound down your neck forever. People do get sued and for the do not call registry. A lot of the times it's sneaky real estate agents. I'm a real estate agent. All of a sudden another real estate agent calls me. I'm on the do not call list. Now I'm going to sue you. And guess what? They make money at that. So it's a game to them. It sucks for you. So make sure the data that you do get, you're scrubbing with the do not call list. And if somebody's on there, make sure that you understand what the federal and state laws are on all of that great stuff. So update all your contacts and follow up. The money's in the follow up. You guys are out there doing lead generation. I can guarantee you that you lose more money on follow up than you do lead generation, because I do. Everybody does. Your follow up game is never going to be 100%. It can always get better. So the reason you do all this lead gen is to get these contacts. If you don't follow up with them, if you don't put them in command, if you don't put them on drip campaigns or smart plans to be able to see where they're at and then move them along your pipeline report, they'll buy or sell with somebody else. So follow-up is the key. I do it every day. I have a whole Excel spreadsheet here of real estate agents that I follow up on the daily, and you get a better outcome when you have better follow-up. So definitely continue following up. If you're not using our resources, KW Connect is where you're getting all the information for Ignite. There is like a million other pieces of information on Connect. So I don't want you to fall down the rabbit hole. It is a rabbit hole, by the way. You go to Connect, look for something specific. If you got some time on your hands, look at everything. There are so many classes, trainings, scripts. I mean, all sorts of stuff on KW Connect. There's videos upon videos upon videos. Any video you could possibly thinking about, there's videos on this class. So if Rob did a subpar job on going through the economic model during this class, great. There's probably 1,900 videos on somebody probably more skilled than myself walking you through this that you could actually obtain as well. And then using Command at a high level. Command is going to be it is an amazing tool. I use it every day, and so does my team. I think it's very underutilized by a lot of agents, and they're losing money on their business. So please, take a look at that. Make your success list and put some actions behind it. The things that I'm going to do, things I should do. Make sure things that you're doing are your big rocks, your priority. So priority is going to be lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and scripts and role play. That is going to be your priority. Those 5 jobs is your job as a real estate agent. Everything else could be hired out. Somebody else could do your marketing, your advertising. Long Beach, you guys got Omar. He does your Facebook ads. He does your social media marketing. I mean, it's super simple. I'd rather pay that guy a couple $100 a month to do all that for me. And I can focus on making thousands of dollars while I'm paying him hundreds of dollars to go ahead and do my social media marketing. So you guys got a cool resource there that I continue to plug in on. And there's obviously a survey here. If you want to complete a survey, completely up to you. But any last questions about Ignite, Keller Williams, about your business? I'm an open book. You guys all have my contact information. I'll type it in the chat if you don't. Boom, there it is. So mind you, that's my personal cell number. So if you, if I don't answer your call, leave me a text message. So everything on my calendar is scheduled, even my family time. So if I'm on the phone with you and if I'm walking in my front door, because I'll talk to people on my drive home, most likely I'll end up hanging up on you because my family time is important to me, just like it's probably important to you. But definitely reach out to me. I'm another resource here at Keller Williams, whether you're with my market center or another market center, we're all within the same family. I think every Keller Williams office feels the same way. Use me as a resource, as I'm here to help you grow your business. And if you guys don't have any final thoughts, we're done for the day. Enjoy your Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Enjoy your weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys.